Hello, everyone. My name is James Wright. I'm principal at Page, Southerland Page here in Washington, D.C. So for those of you who are not from D.C., welcome to our town. I have most of my 36 years of practice have been working outside of the United States. And I started doing that because I loved it. I just loved the cultural experience, everything that comes with getting outside of your boundaries, outside of your culture, and other places in the world. But everyone right now, I think, every single person, whether your work is good or not, just because of our economy we're faced with, giving this a little bit of thought. Should we be thinking about going international, even if it's on a very small scale? Regardless of what motivates you, you have to think about having a local partner of one variety or another, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Because your local partner, he may have as little to do with helping you just get in from the airport to taking your project over after you do design intent drawings and making it into a real building. So the scope is really very wide. Now, I'm assuming first, though, that you've asked yourselves basic questions about should you even be thinking about heading offshore. Do you have something you can sell outside of the market that you're in right now? And this is going to take a little research and thought, but you might be surprised that you do have something to sell. But make sure. Are you really prepared to invest? This is a hunt, and it's a big scale hunt. And after you win a project, it's going to be a while before you get paid. I'm generalizing, but the account receivables can be a long time coming. Are you prepared to stretch your work clock? This may sound very obvious, but believe me, until you've done it, you don't know what it feels like. It's different times. Your week is different. Your holidays are different. Are you comfortable designing in metric units? Because the whole world outside of the United States pretty much is metric based. So you need to be comfortable in metric units. And I'm going to jump ahead right now. It's okay to strike out there. You convince yourself you're ready for international practice. You don't know a soul where the market is, in the market that you want to go to. As long as you do appreciate the fact that you cannot do this by yourself, you should not attempt to do it by yourself. You do need a local partner. Now, there are several broad categories of local partners out there. I'm going to hit these very quickly. They're traditional AE associates. Clients, believe it or not, can be your partners, and there are non-design types. AE associates, just as the term implies, these are the people that will help you with, in the beginning of the project, all the logistics. They'll help coordination with all the local officials. You will probably give them real scope of work to do. They will help with submittals, because you don't want to be sending all your submittals from the U.S. You want to print them on site. They at times will represent you at meetings, and of course translations. If you're not working in English, they will be invaluable during presentations. Civil is something we always buy local, and that's generally here in the U.S. as well, of course. So they may have that scope. You've probably never done a quantity survey or bill of quantities. That's the British system outside the U.S. that's prevalent. They will be responsible for this. They obviously are going to help you get your permits, and of course during construction be a very useful resource to you, just as an associate is here in the U.S. Now, client groups, we've had U.S. corporate clients of ours take us overseas, and this is a dream come true when this happens, because they many times then will just jumpstart the whole process and accelerate you. They'll introduce you to people they're comfortable with working with, and there you go, you're ready to go. Design builders can take you overseas. It's unusual for a United States, a U.S. design builder, but we're doing a tremendous amount of work right now with State Department, and those are U.S. design builders. They take us overseas. We go with them, and we go on these very intensive scouting parties in which, in the course of a week, we find out everyone in town who's really qualified to be a good team member of ours. Then the third category, there are non-design types. They're not architects, they're not engineers. There are sort of the middlemen, the producers, agents, they package teams, and it's all across the board as to just how useful these are. But they are very good at connecting you to clients. and then very good at giving you kind of inside history and advice on the local professional market if you pick a good non-design type to help you along. Quick pros and cons. AIA Associates, obviously, that's a direct path to helping you deliver your services. But the trust factor is huge because you're literally tying yourself to them, even in terms of liability. Clients is great, but it's the hardest one to come across. It's hard to find a U.S. client, global client that's got an offshore project that needs you. The non-design type is the one that's the sketchiest, to be honest, but it does offer the most flexibility. Understanding, though, of course, you're now dealing with a non-professional as your partner. Now, how do you find them, or how do they find you? And I've got about 3 decades of doing this. One of my best contacts I ever made came from a U.S. engineering company. It was someone we weren't even doing a project with, but I just had a social relationship with. They were working offshore, and they suggested someone I should call on when they found out that I was interested in going to a specific area in the Middle East. It turned out to be a wonderful connection that I'm in about 8 years of a relationship with now. Sometimes, if you're a design firm with a real specialty, you can actually tag on to a larger U.S. firm. You can market yourself to them and go after a specialized building type, because there are a lot of firms practicing offshore that are very general in what they do. When they come across a correctional facility or some more specialized type, an airport, they need a consultant. So they could bring you along, and that's obviously going to help a lot. As I mentioned earlier, your client. If you get the project before the team's really put together, client says, we have a project in our Liberia branch that we need some help with, that's obviously a dream come true. Also difficult, but boy does it ever work. If you win a design competition, everyone will find you. Or if by whatever means you end up on an RFP or an RFQ list for an international project, you will get bombarded with emails, because then the whole local community is focusing on you, and they'll come find you, believe me. Least effective way, in the old days before the internet, you used to fly into the town, go to the hotel room, get the yellow pages, look under architects. Half the time there wasn't even an architect's heading. Today it's a web search. It's a lot more efficient, obviously, but this is not the best way to be finding somebody. Most effective way I've found is find a way to speak at a conference, or like this, just go to a trade show. And there are increasing amounts of these types, and actually it's not on the scale of AIA National Convention, but actually quite large now. Trade shows in all the major regions of the world. So just go with a lot of business cards and just network. But if you can do like what I'm doing right now and submit a paper, be actually a speaker, you once again you'll be flooded as soon as you get off the stage, people wanting to talk to you. And that's then very direct marketing. That's how you meet good partners. I want to quickly mention a new resource that I'm very much behind. This is the creation of a new AIA International Region, because I think this will be extremely helpful. It's Amendment 12B that's going to be voted upon on Saturday. This would be the authorization to create a new AIA International Region. And the benefits are for everybody. They're for the folks in the AIA that are offshore, but they're for folks like yourselves, myself, who work here, but either aspire to or are working international. Because this is going to allow you a very structured, once that region is stood up and there's an international region, a much more structured way to connect with your colleagues that are already in the places maybe where you want to go, and form associations. It is going to enhance the stature of the AIA, and it's going to support these components. Some of them are out there right now, such as AIA Hong Kong, AIA UK, AIA Middle East. It'll help them grow. And then there are other parts of the world, like India, where a component is not yet formed. But if there's an international region, I think it will greatly help the formation of new components. And that helps all of us that have AIA after our names. There'll be more continuing education opportunities for those that are offshore, new direct new awards program, and that's an excellent way of doing indirect marketing, of course, when your work is recognized. It'll be a good way for everyone to have access to practice forums because they do focus on issues specific to international practice, and that's very helpful whether you're actually over there or not. You could avail yourself of those opportunities if you knew about them, and I think the International Region will help that. And you're just going to help now get into the woodwork with the agencies and the institutes in the countries where you want to work. Final wrap up here, the International Partner Sniff Test. Once you think you found somebody, are the claims that person, that company's making sound just a little bit too good to be true? And as for their access to the client, to the projects, that's a little bit of a warning sign. Go visit their office. Is it a stage front? And believe me, I say half of the offices I go visit are stage fronts. Or they've got 2 or 3 people and they broker out the work. So you need to be careful. You need to actually go kick the tires of your potential project partner. Have they ever done this before with any international architect or specifically with an American architect? Or is this going to be their first time? Will they help with proposal costs? In other words, they'll hold up their end. They'll bear their own costs. Are they pushing you to sign a long-term mutual agreement? If so, run, because that's really bad. You don't want to get locked up with anybody you've not worked with. So say, no, we're going to do this one project at a time, and then maybe we'll talk about a long-term agreement. Once you get a project, are they going to help you with, offshore it's quite different from here. You have to put a performance bond, as if you were a contractor, on your architectural fee, on your architectural services. Will they help cover the cost of that? And with letters of credit, if you seek a retainer. Will they accept the fact that it's got to be paid when paid, and knowing that it may be months in getting paid once you submit an invoice? And will they be effective in helping you get paid because they're there with the client? And then finally, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, do they have any clue? If they don't, it's your job to know it, and it's your job to educate them, because you are tied at the hip with them on making sure that you adhere to the provisions of this federal law. So with that, I'm wrapped up. I'd be happy to take any questions that anyone may have on trying to strike out and find a new partner outside the U.S. Well, thank you all very much, and if you do it, good luck to you.